Hi, my name is Julie. I'm a writer and comedian based in New York. And I think OJ did it. I want to talk about, and I feel confident that I'm the only one on Chelsea Manning's internet talking about the 1996 movie Bulletproof, starring Adam Sandler and Damon Wayans. Quick summary if you haven't seen it, which, first of all, I was very shocked to find an Adam Sandler movie that I had never heard of, that other people weren't talking about, because people love him and he's funny in this. This is very classic him. He's getting angry and yelling. He's being overly sexual with strangers. He is wearing jackets. The movie is about two friends who are criminals, but one is a bad person, and when I say that, I mean that he is a police officer. Damon Wayans is the undercover cop, Keats, and Adam Sandler plays Moses, and they're buds, they're best buds, just getting in fights, palling around, as you do. Adam Sandler is working with a drug dealer, and Damon Wayans wants in because he's a cop and he wants to arrest everyone. So the deal is happening. Everyone there is uneasy because they feel like Damon Wayans is a cop. They're like, you are like a cop. Adam Sandler keeps getting more and more annoyed, kind of, because no one is trusting him. This is his person that he brought in and he vouched for, and no one trusts that. At some point he's like, if he's a cop, I'll suck your dick. He rips open his shirt to be like, look, he's not wearing a wire, but he is wearing a wire because he's a cop. And then chaos ensues and everyone starts shooting in this construction warehouse parking garage. You know the vibes. There's Adam Sandler and Damon Wayans, and they're both pointing guns at each other, and they're Adam Sandler is processing the betrayal pretty loudly and verbally. And he's like, how could you fucking do this to me? I told you stuff I never told anyone else. I would have taken a bullet for you. And Damon Wayans the whole time has just been like, I'm just doing my job, man. I'm just doing my job. A piece of machinery sort of falls and it hits Adam Sandler in the back, and his gun goes off and he shoots Damon Wayans in the head. And now, I think for most people, we would assume that's the end of the movie. I mean, it was only 15 or 20 minutes in, so it would be kind of surprising. But it's sort of hard to imagine, after one of the main characters gets shot in the head, that there's more story. But in 1996, I guess they just felt like, who the hell cares? And they just made it so that his character wakes up and his forehead is the same as it was before, except now there's a line on it. And he's in an inpatient rehab, and he's doing physical therapy, and his physical therapist is hot, and they fall in love and they move in together. What are women besides just sexual caretakers? He is he feels betrayed by Moses somehow, because Moses shot him in the head, even though he's the one who had been befriending him to set him up for a year. Somehow he is able to see himself as the victim. He's very angry, and he is out to get him again more, even though that was kind of his whole deal before. But Moses, who is Adam Sandler, if you're not catching on to the two names that I'm saying, Moses will only surrender to Damon Wayans / Keats, because he knows how much police corruption, the drug dealer James Caan, he owns a lot of people in different pockets, and he doesn't trust them not to murder him. So he'll only surrender to Damon Wayans, and Damon Wayans doesn't want to do it, and he throws a little tantrum, but then he agrees to do it. And while they're picking him up and trying to secure him, or I don't know, whatever the police say and do, they get intercepted. They find themselves, they're trying to go to this plane, and then it gets ambushed and everyone's shooting, and Adam Sandler is somehow knows how to fly a plane, and so he can land it, but then they land on the edge of a cliff, and then the plane is like very precariously teetering, and then they run, and they just barely, if you saw the most recent Mission Impossible with the train, it's that, but a plane and shorter. Well, they get out, the plane crashes into the desert, I guess. They're sort of on the run because they don't know who they can trust. And they go to this like very random, in the middle of nowhere, like a hotel that's run by a man who is, we are led to believe, strange. I would argue he's not really that strange. He just likes porn and has a picture of his wife that is him dressed up as a woman. And it's unclear if they were making the choice that, like, his wife just looks exactly like him, but a woman, because people do date like that. If you've ever seen the Instagram Siblings Are Dating, I think that gives a lot of insight into this phenomenon, which I find frankly disgusting. Or if they were saying that he like cross-dresses, and they were making fun of that. It's unclear, but he seems mostly nice. And Adam Sandler is hitting on him a lot and implying that he and Damon Wayans are gay and they're gonna have gay sex. And he invites him to come and have gay sex with them. Or bring his wife and just have a threesome. Which I think to them would be straight sex. Who the hell knows? Of course, the only suite left is the honeymoon suite. Like a big round bed that has like red velvet sheets and pillows. And there's like cheetah print. And everything is meant for fucking. They get into a fight. Because, again, Damon Wayans somehow sees himself as the one who's been harmed, and not just someone who got what he deserved. They get in a fight, and Adam Sandler is, like, handcuffed to the toilet, and they, like, go to sleep. But then he wakes up, and he hears that people are coming to murder them. So he tries to get Keats up. And he does that by turning on the porn that he was watching where a woman is getting eaten out while she's eating an apple. So that was like fun for everyone, I think. They managed to kill those people. And the guy who owns the hotel, Airbnb, lodging, he like manages to find them in a compromising sexual position, but then he that was a misunderstanding and he realizes they need help. So he helps because he's a good person. They do like a car chase where the remaining like henchmen, evil guys drive off a cliff. Fun for the whole family. It's just a lot of like them trying to get somewhere but not knowing who they can trust, and them like bickering but you know they're like friends. That's the whole movie. One of the like little details that I really liked was that Adam Sandler, his mom and Damon Wayans were really close, and she smokes a ton of weed. They have like a scene where he talks to her on the phone, and that's really cute. There's a lot of like funny jokes that I think were too gross for them to happen now, kind of. Like, I think people's threshold for gross stuff has gone way down or up, depending on how thresholds work. At the end, I'm just gonna spoil it because you're here. You've had 30 years. Physical therapist who's hot, who fell in love with Damon Wayans. She was working for the drug dealer the whole time. And then there's really fun, like, kind of standoff scene where Adam Sandler, you know, she is, and he's, like, feels betrayed. And he's like, everything was a lie? And she's like, I was just doing my job. And then Adam Sandler is like, well. He's reveling. They escape and everyone dies except for the people that we like. We cut to, and we don't know how their friendship, it looks like Damon Wayans just sort of let him run away instead of taking him in, which he had been kind of dead set on doing the whole movie. And so it seems like Adam Sandler is like alone in Mexico, and he's a bullfighter now, and he's like talking to all these women, and then all their like huge scary boyfriends come up and they like start harassing him, and then Damon Wayans is there, but then he doesn't help, but then the dog is there. It's the breed of dog that is the target dog, which I learned is just a bull terrier, but that just sounds wrong for how weird those dogs look. I feel like they need their own name, more specific, to indicate how insane their faces are shaped. Their face is like a very wide torpedo. Their body is normal, their ears are normal, but something in the face shape area happened unlike any other animal. But the dog is there, and everyone, and his mom is there, and she's smoking weed, and it was just fun. A fun little romp. One thing that I thought was interesting about this movie is how it portrays the police. There's a ton of propaganda movies from every time. And a lot of times they cast comedians as cops to make them more likable, to make you like root for them and like them. And so it's usually like, you know, Martin Lawrence or Will Smith, and white people too. You know, going by his own rule book. I mean, there's different types. There's like the Mel Gibson, you know, the renegade, like kind of violent cop that we like for inexplicably. It's many genres because people in society want you to think the police are important and like them. So there's a lot of resources donated to media that reinforces that. But in this one, it was so interesting because, and I wonder how someone else would have interpreted this. Someone who thinks the police are good and like inherently trustworthy. Because so Damon Wayans' character is an undercover cop, but he's clearly, I don't know, would other people watch this movie and be like, he did what he had to do, like he's doing the right thing, he's caught between a rock and a hard place? Like, because to me it's very clear that he's a piece of shit, kind of. He's completely using someone that he gained the trust of and like formed a genuine bond connection with, and he's exploiting that trust and relationship to, yeah, just like, I don't know, to get one guy who sells drugs. I'm a leftist freak, and like I obviously think that if we legalize drugs and like provide like harm reduction and resources, like none of this would be an issue anyway. But you know, obviously the movie doesn't take that stand. But so like in the world where we have to violently apprehend drug dealers and everyone who is working with them is bad and everyone who's on that mission is good. That seems to be the binary that they're presenting. And within that, I just feel like his character is really unlikable, and it doesn't make sense what he's doing, and he feels really like shitty kind of. That was like kind of interesting to me that they did it like that, because at the end, in the like final standoff or whatever, Adam Sandler, he does this thing kind of throughout where if he recognizes the name of one of the officers, it means he's on the payroll of the drug dealer, because Adam Sandler like took care of those payments for a while, so he knew the names of the people who would get them. So at one point, Damon Wayans, they're in the precinct and his captain is there, and Adam Sandler sees his name tag and he's like, Jensen? And he's like, this guy's dirty. And so Damon Wayans just like trusts him and like, you know, pulls a gun on his captain and like punches him in the face, and like they escape together around like a campfire. Adam Sandler is like, I think I was wrong about the name. I think it was Benson. I'm actually certain it was Benson. And then, you know, but Damon Wayans has like trusted him over. It feels like he chose the friendship over his job and the police. And I'm just kind of surprised that they set it up like that. I thought it was going to be dog shit because I've never heard anything about it. And it has all these people. So I assumed like, oh, the only way, you know, that I wouldn't have heard of this is because it's really bad. But that wasn't the case. It's seeming like people hate it or just think that it's really bad and unwatchable and like nonsense and very mediocre. I disagree, because a lot of other movies exist that are those things, and this movie is not that. This movie is genuinely funny, and I am curious if other people's negative reaction and like why it didn't land is because of the complication around the police stuff, like that it doesn't go how it normally would. Like I think in other ones it's like the cop is the good guy and he has the ethics and he has like the morals, and then he's getting his friend in line who is benefiting from him. Adam Sandler was like helping him to be a better person. He's not a very good person. Does a lot of kind of ethically shitty and questionable things. And then he's sort of like lost because he doesn't know who to trust, and he keeps trusting the wrong people, namely the police, like over and over and over again when they're all corrupt. I thought that was so interesting. Like he keeps calling and saying their location, and it keeps getting compromised, and they keep having to like run away from these like murderers. And Adam Sandler keeps being like, What? Like, what are you doing? Like, I thought you were smarter than this. And then at the end, it seems like he leaves the police, and that's like the happy ending for him, is to like be with his friend living in Mexico, just hanging out. Senoritas and margaritas is a phrase that was used. And I wonder if, because this is also right before Bad Boys came out and after Lethal Weapon, like, and those are massive hits, and those are very rooted in like the refrain that the police are always right, and like there's some bad apples, but overall, and like yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Cruel Intentions, there's this really interesting, because it's based on this French, Les Liaisons Dangereuses. I'm sure someone else could say that better. I've only been doing Duolingo for a limited amount of time. I read this interesting essay in high school because I saw it and I was like so horny I wanted to read about it. It was basically saying that when that came out, it was seen as like very high in terms of value in literature. Like, it was very high value and seen as like really good. And then when the movie came out, the culture that it came out in viewed it as very low value kind of smut. And this person was sort of saying that whatever the cultural values of the time are influence how the art, like, because Cruel Intentions like is very sex forward, and then if you're in a time where that's valued as like, an important part of society and people are sex positive and open about sex, then that's seen as interesting and good and insightful. But if you're in a time where people are really conservative and prudish and like judging of sex, then anything dealing with sex, it's easy to be debased and like written off and seen as lower class. I'm curious about like this piece of media that presents more of a complicated image of the police. I wonder if that has to do with its success commercially, because it's kind of at odds with a lot of the accepted cultural narratives that people really feel comfortable in and want. You can trust the police. They're always good. There's a happy ending. They'll figure it out. Like, which in terms of reality isn't the case anywhere. But in movies, it is. And I think that's really what's pushing that narrative more than reality. A lot of people are basing their idea of the police on movies they've seen and TV shows. And that's why it's all there, is to make you feel like you know something that you actually don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So in conclusion, the police are bad and should be abolished. And I think that everyone saying that this movie is bad is because they're not abolitionists. And I think if they were abolitionists, then they could see that it's funny and good. Okay, bye.